Chapter 4 focuses on budgeting. So in section 4.1, we're going to look at how we budget our time. Now, this is a picture of my calendar, and you can see on here that we've got sections that are blocked off. This is by the month. You can see that there's little bullet points on here, and they have different colors. Each one of those sections that's blocked off, that might be something that I needed to set aside that entire day for, and the different colors represent different people or different types of events. So church things are going to be in yellow. Anything that's a family event is going to be in green. If I have sporting events, those are in blue. So it just helps me to kind of see the different types of things I have going on each day. Now you may be thinking, do I put everything on my calendar? No, I actually do not put everything on my calendar. So what actually makes it on to my calendar? Well, if I have a specific meeting time that I need to meet with somebody, so if it's a work event, or maybe I'm going to the movies, or have a doctor's appointment, any time that there's a specific time that I'm needing to set aside. Events also go on my calendar. So if somebody's getting married, or if there's a graduation party I'm going to go to, or a birthday party, I'm going to put those on my calendar. And finally, I put on my calendar anything to do with my kids' sporting events. So if they have practices or games. So basically anything that goes on my calendar is something where I am pigeonholed into a very specific time slot. Now there's plenty of things I have to do in a day that don't go onto my calendar. So for example, I read my Bible every day, and I don't put that on my calendar. I clean up in the mornings a lot of times. I make my coffee, I start cleaning, and then once my coffee is ready, that's when I start my Bible time. If I have to go grocery shopping, then I don't put that on my calendar, but it's something that I still have to do. Anytime I cook, I might think about that day at what times I have that I can cook, but I don't put it on my actual calendar. I'm currently in a book club, and I'm reading several books, and I love to read, and so no, that doesn't go on my calendar. And then whenever my family gets together and we do something fun, we call it Triple F, forced family fun. And so if we go play frisbee golf, or we're going to go putt-putt or something like that, I don't necessarily put that on my calendar. So I want you to take a moment and think about all the things that you need to do and all the things that you want to do in your day. So when I look at my day, and I kind of look at the list I gave you on the previous slide, I have to get my Bible study done. So that's a study that I'm doing right now. I also work during the day. So this is a picture of an accounting book or a finance book I'm teaching out of. I'm making the videos for this consumer math class. I also do some reporting for a local ministry as well. I volunteer. So this is a friend of mine, and we are volunteering by stuffing tracks. I volunteer with my church a lot. I volunteer with kids a lot. I volunteer with my co-op. So those are things that I get done as well. I mentioned my kids play sports, and so those are things that I need to take into consideration when I assess my time. As I mentioned, grocery shopping is a big deal. Nobody likes an empty fridge. I also think that exercise is very important, and so I make time during my week to exercise. I mentioned I love to read. This is a book club I'm in with a friend of mine, and we are reading all of the Jane Austen books along with the book The Mysteries of Udolpho. And then Triple F is one of my favorite things to do, and this is us recently playing frisbee golf this summer. Now, I want you to know that your schedule is very important, and we may not really consider this, but we honor God when we spend our time wisely. And it says in Proverbs 6 through 11, "Go to the ant, you sluggard, consider its ways and be wise. It has no commander, no overseer or ruler, yet it stores its provisions in summer and gathers its food at harvest. How long will you lie there, you sluggard? When you get up from your sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, and poverty will come on you like a thief, and scarcity like an armed man." And what that's really saying is that if we're not wise with our time and that we don't use it wisely, we basically waste it. I don't know about you guys, but I find there's plenty of ways to be distracted every day of my life and not to use my time wisely. I know my phone is a big distraction. If I get on my phone and I start goofing off, I can waste all kinds of time. I might enjoy it some days, but overall, if I spent every day on my phone wasting my time, I promise you my work would not get done. I would not spend time with my family. My cleaning in my house would not get done. We'd have no groceries. So in general, if you've ever watched ants, they are not lazy. They are constantly working. And so God calls us to manage our time well so that we can use it efficiently and so that we don't waste it. So we're going to actually see this in action with one practice problem that we have. All right, so here's our practice problem. Mrs. Williams has a full day. Below is her agenda and scheduled activities. Wake up at 7 and clean and get coffee ready. Spend time with God, and each of those are 30 minutes. Eats brunch, meaning cooking and eating will take about 30 minutes. Conference call from 11 to 12. She needs to work 4 hours. She needs to meet with her trainer from 4:30 to 5:30 at the gym. It's going to take 15 minutes to get there and 15 minutes to get home because of rush hour traffic. She needs to take a shower when she gets home and get ready for church, which takes 15 minutes. She plans to eat dinner before church, 30 minutes. And she has church from 7 to 8:15, and it takes 15 minutes of driving. It also says that Mrs. Williams wants to spend time with her kids sometime that day for 3 hours, and she likes to read for 1 hour before bedtime, which is 11 p.m. So to start this off, what we're really going to do is we are going to look and see what things have very specific time periods. All right, so this first item up here, it says wakes up at 7 and cleans and gets coffee ready. So this is just kind of a routine. So I'm going to put coffee on here and cleaning. The next item says that she spends time with God for 30 minutes, and that is kind of my routine. I wake up, I clean, I get my coffee ready, and then once my coffee's ready, I have Bible time. The next thing says that she eats, I'm going to go on ahead and put a check mark next to these because we've kind of finished these off, eats brunch, cooking, and eating. So I'm going to leave that off because I kind of want to see what my day looks like with my other commitments before I squeeze in my eating time. It says there's a conference call from 11 to noon. So on here, this time block is going to be a conference call. So that's something I can't schedule at the same time. So we'll go on ahead and check that off. Work for 4 hours. Well, let's see where I can squeeze my working in. Meets with the trainer from 4:15 to 5:30 or 4:30 to 5:30. All right, so I'm going to go on here, and this time is going to be with the trainer. It also says it takes 15 minutes there and 15 minutes back. So I'm going to put driving and driving. All right, and that one we can check off. All right, she needs to take a shower when she gets home to get ready for church, which will take 15 minutes. She plans to eat dinner before church, 30 minutes. She has church from 7 to 8:15 and 15 minutes of driving both ways. Okay, so I'm going to go on ahead and put the church on here first because I want to see how much time I need for church. And then that means that I have in this time period I can eat and I can take a shower, and I also have to drive to church. So I'm going to go on ahead and put shower here, because basically when I walk in the door, I can jump in the shower. When I get done with that, I can eat, and I really don't like being late to church, so just in case there's some extra traffic, I'm going to go on ahead and plan to leave my house about 6:30. If I leave a few minutes after that, it doesn't matter, but this basically gives me 30 minutes to get to church if I don't schedule anything else in this time slot. It says that she also takes 15 minutes to get home. I know myself, I really like to chat with everyone after church, so I'm not even going to schedule anything in there for a half an hour after church because I know that I'm going to want to kind of hang out with people and talk. So these items are now scheduled here as well. So I need to squeeze in, because these are things I need to do before I get to the things I want to do. I need to get 4 hours of work in. So when I look at my schedule, I've got kind of some big chunks. I've got a chunk here, I've got a chunk over here, and even though I put extra time, I'm going to kind of cross this off because I don't really want to do anything after 11 p.m. At that point, I want to go to sleep. So when I look at my time slots, I know that after Bible time, a lot of times I take a little break or I might have something I need to do. So I'm not going to start my work until about 8:15. And I know with my conference call, I want to be able to wrap it up, get everything cleaned up, get myself set up for my conference call by 11. So I don't want to schedule anything for 15 minutes before as well. So if I look at this time period and I look at how long this gives me, this is 1 hour worth of time here. I have a second hour worth of time and a half an hour here. So I'm going to put on here work for 2.5 hours. So that still leaves me with another 1.5 hours that I need to schedule. I also know that in my time, I want to spend time with my kids and I want to read. So if I'm looking at my next large chunk of time, this would be a great time to squeeze that fun in with my kids. So I'm not going to schedule myself to work in the afternoon. I want to be able to squeeze that in, and if I put my fun back here or I tried to put it up here, I wouldn't really have enough time. So instead, I still have 1.5 hours worth of work I need to get done, so I'm going to go on ahead and schedule that at this time slot here. So this gives me 1.5 hours. So now I can get the rest of my work in for 1.5 hours. So my work is now accounted for. I also know that I need to get 30 minutes in of eating. I typically don't really eat in the mornings. I might get a small snack. I can just grab something while I'm working if I wanted to and eat that as a snack. But to actually fix food and take time out of my day, I'm going to put that right after the conference call. As soon as that conference call is done, I am going to eat. So now I've gotten everything up top accounted for. Now, as for my fun that I've got here, when I look at my schedule, I pretty much have from 12:30 until 4 o'clock to have fun. So I should easily be able to fit in my FFF. As I kind of consider my schedule, I'm looking at this and I'm like, you know, it's nice outside. It's summertime while I'm making this videos. I'm thinking we could just go swimming. So I'm going to put on here that I'm going to drive to the pool. And then because I only want to spend about 3 hours, that gives me 2.5 hours at the pool. So when I put my 2.5 hours on here, I'm going to say, well, I'll be there from 1 until 3:30, and this can be my FFF. And then I'm going to drive home at about 3:30. And that gives me a little bit of time if I need to get another snack or I need to do anything before I actually go and meet with the trainer. That gives me a little bit of margin in the afternoon. Now, I got my FFF in. I mentioned also that I like to read for an hour. Well, when I look at my schedule for this date, it looks like I'm probably not going to get to read for an hour. My options would be I could squeeze in 15 minutes here, a half an hour here. Really, I'm not that efficient with my time. I know that that's not going to happen. The other thing I could do is that right before I go to bed, I could read for 15 minutes. It's not an hour, but it's 15 minutes. Or I could stay up later if I wanted to. However, what I'm just going to go with for this date is that when I look at this time, it looks like I am not going to be able to schedule 1 hour of reading for this specific date, and that's okay. So we'll just go on ahead and cross this off, the reading for 1 hour before bedtime, and that is okay. All right, so now you can see here is kind of a little bit of a nicer schedule. The dark green items are the items that have very specific times. The other items are stuff that isn't quite as specific with its time. But the point is you can see now how this time is scheduled. So it says how much time is used efficiently and how much time is wasted. What is the percentage of each? Okay, so when I look on here, anything that's got a number on it, these things are used efficiently. Like I would say, eating brunch is efficient. My conference call is efficient. Each one of those items are efficient. Anytime that I have a blank, like this is going to be a blank, this is not anything I've scheduled. I haven't scheduled anything here. Nothing's scheduled, nothing's scheduled, nothing here is scheduled, nothing, and then as I mentioned, down below here, I'm going to bed at 11. So every place I put an X is a 15-minute mark or even a 30-minute mark that I did not schedule. And, you know, as you look at the book, sometimes they'll say, well, that's time that's been wasted. I like to think that's time where I have margin. And for example, like let's say I'm doing my Bible study. Maybe it only takes me 15 minutes to get done. Well, then I gained an extra 15 minutes for my day. Or maybe it took me 35 minutes or 40 minutes to get done. I'm glad I scheduled myself some margin. With my working, maybe I ended up running over and I was trying to finish something. I gave myself some margin. I think margin is an excellent thing. Even here, let's say I decided I wanted to stay at the pool for an extra 15 minutes. It didn't bother me because I still had that extra 15 minutes to get home and 15 minutes to get ready to go work out, and then I can leave and I won't be late. So you can call this time that's wasted, or you can consider it margin, and downtime isn't bad. So point is, as we look at this, and I look at how much time they say wasted, that I say just not scheduled, I can count all of that up first. So the unscheduled time, I'm just going to say unscheduled, and they call this wasted time. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 10 15-minute time slots not scheduled. And now what I need to do, if I want to figure out what percentage of my time is wasted or unscheduled versus what percentage of my time is efficient, I need to actually start figuring out how much time have I spent that day. So I need to figure out how much time is in a day that I'm awake. Time and day awake. Now I kind of have two ways to do this. One is I can say, okay, well, this is 11 p.m., but if I convert that into military time, that's 2,300 hours. I can subtract off 7 a.m., and that would give me 16 hours. Another thing that I can do is I can also look at it and I can say, okay, well, I can count up. So from 7 until noon, so basically 7 to noon, is 5 hours. And then I can have noon to 11, and that is worth 11 hours. And when I add that up, that gives me 16 hours. So in my day, I have 16 hours total. I have wasted time of 10 15-minute time slots. I'm going to convert that into hours. So I'm going to say my waste is going to be, I'm going to say, because they're 15-minute time slots, every 4 15-minute time slots is going to be an hour. So 10 divided by 4 equals 2.5. You could also think to yourself, you could just, you could have taken 10 and multiplied it by 15 and then divided that by 60, because 10 times 15 minutes, that would tell you how many minutes you have total. Divide it by 60 minutes in an hour, that'll convert it to hours as well. But my wasted time is 2.5, and then if I want to figure out what my efficient time is, I would say 16 minus 2.5 equals 13.5 hours. So that's going to tell me my total numbers of wasted hours versus efficient hours, and then this is my total hours in a day. Now it said it wants me to tell you what percentage of each day was used efficiently versus wasted. To figure out the percentage, I'm going to take 2.5 and I'm going to divide that by 16. And when I do, that's going to give me 0.15625. If I want to convert that to a percentage, I take this times 100, and that gives me 15, I'm just going to round it, 15.63%. Over here, same thing. I'm going to take the total amount of time that I used efficiently, and I'm going to divide it by 16. And when I do, that gives me 0.84375. If I take that times 100, that gives me 84.37%. The last thing I want to show you is we can also look at this by allocating each activity. So on the previous slide, I said, okay, how much overall did I use versus waste? Now I'm saying how much of my day that I was awake did I use for cleaning? And so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take this, I'm going to divide it by 16. I'm saying this is part of my day divided by the total number of hours that I have in my day, and I can calculate that out. Now in this case, I would end up with a decimal and I would multiply it and I would get a percentage, by multiplying that decimal by 100. So I'm going to go on ahead and just write the percentage in here. I have 3.125% here. I'm going to take my Bible time, which is a half an hour, divide it by 16. I'm going to get the same number as well. For my working time, as I look over here on my calendar, I'm going to take my working time, and this is work. My conference call is work, and I have work over here. So it was 4 hours plus 1 more hour gives me 5 hours. I would like to mention these are all in hours, as you can see. Everything has to be the same unit. So I couldn't make this 30 and then turn this into the number of hours. 30 would be the number of minutes. I can't do that. So everything has been converted into hours. Make sure that if you're looking at this, everything is in the same units. If your total is in hours, each part must be in hours. If your total is in minutes, every part must be in minutes. It doesn't matter what you do, you'll get the same percentage. But for me, I put it in hours. So, so for working, as I showed you over here, I tallied up how much time I spent working. I'm going to divide that by 16, and that gives me 31.25%. Eating, I have 1. I have eat brunch, and I'm eating dinner. And so this is going to be divided by 16, and that's going to give me 6.25%. Driving time, I've actually got several spots. I have 15 minutes here, 15 here, that's a half an hour, 15 and 15, that's another half an hour, 15 and 15, that's another half an hour. So it's 1.5 hours of driving. And when I calculate that out, that gives me 9.375%. So I'll take this divided by 16. Basically, I'm going to take each one of these numbers and I'm going to divide them all by 16. So I'm putting that kind of on here now. Triple F, we went swimming for 2.5 hours. So I can go on ahead and say that, calculate that out, and we had 15.625% of my awake time spent hanging out with my kids. Exercise is 1 hour a day. That's 6.25%. Taking a shower is only going to take 15 minutes, so that's going to take 1.5625%. Church is 1.25 hours long, so that's going to take 7.8125%. And then the amount of time of my margin, or waste, but I like to call it margin, is 15.625%. And if I were to add all of these up, they would add up to 100%. So what this really shows me is exactly how I use my time. Did I spend my time cleaning? Well, 3% of my day was spent cleaning. 9% of my day was spent driving. That's actually a lot of my awake time. I spent almost 10% of my day in a car. Hanging out with my family, 15%. Going to church, 7.8%. So this can be eye-opening to see how much of your time per day are you allocating to these different areas in your life. So for the homework, make sure you're kind of looking at what they're asking. This is an allocation. They may be asking overall. And again, as I mentioned, waste may be time that you just literally waste, or it may be good to schedule that extra margin so that you can have some downtime in between your activities.